Hello, Nintendo Wii here, welcome back to RetroBreak. Following up from my Tetris video the other week, I'm going to be talking today about my 10 favourite puzzle games that aren't Tetris. So let's get started with... and I've stacked them all here very precariously. So the first one we're looking at is Dr. Mario. And unlike my top 10 Game Boy puzzle games, I've actually got them here to show. We're going back to this 32-in-1 cart here, which is kind of a lie because there's only actually like 8 games on it and then they sort of duplicate. The game I'm talking about here, Dr. Mario. I didn't actually realise that I already had the SNES version. Either way, Dr. Mario is one of my favourite puzzle games ever. It's so well made. It's a really good counterpart to Tetris. I feel like especially the Game Boy one, it's one of those games that I want to go back to and play again and again. And this version here on the SNES has to be my favourite out of all the versions because, as you can see, it also includes Tetris. And it was also re-released on the Game Boy Advance, but don't be fooled into thinking it's exactly the same as the SNES version because this GBA one here actually has Puzzle League or Tetris Attack. It's not the same as the SNES one, even though they do look very similar. So bear that in mind, if you're looking for this game, go for the SNES version. They also released Dr. Mario on the GameCube in this Japan exclusive game here that also includes Yoshi's Cookie and Panel de Pon, which is the Japanese name for Tetris Attack, which is a game we'll get to in a little while. So there's just another way to play Dr. Mario, and it's been re-released on countless other Nintendo systems and downloadable services over the years. So no matter how you play it, you're guaranteed to have a great time. So number 9 here is Puzzle Bobble. This was one of the very first games that I ever played. This is my original copy here for Windows 95. Fantastic puzzle game. I think this version also came out on the SNES, although unfortunately I don't have the SNES version. But you may also know Puzzle Bobble as its other name, Buster Move, that was released on many different platforms. So I've also got the Wii version here. It was released on the PlayStation, the N64 as you can see there, Game Boy Advance, all sorts of different consoles. The footage that I'll be showing for this game is coming from the GBA version, just because that's the easiest one to record for me at the moment. But I have to say that my favourite version is the original Windows 95 PC release. Right, this next game here, this one's a bit of an interesting game. This one's called Zoo Cube for the Game Boy Advance and the GameCube. This is one of my favourite puzzle games on the GBA, actually. Although it's called Zoo Cube, the Game Boy Advance version doesn't actually contain any animals, which I guess was kind of because of the limitations of the 3D capabilities of the GBA. The GameCube version, on the other hand, features different animal heads as the different blocks, but either game that you play, you're guaranteed to have a really good time. It's definitely one of those games that I just play and I just can't stop playing once I've started. I just have to finish however far I can get. It's very, very addictive, really good, and I don't hear nearly enough people talk about it. So that's why I put Zoo Cube on the list. Definitely worth a look if you're into puzzle games. My god, this game, Peggle. How many hours have I sunk into Peggle? I have no idea. One of my favourite games of all time, not just one of my favourite puzzle games. Popup was on top form when they released this. I love all the different versions of it. Yes, even Peggle Blast for iOS, which some people don't like because EA bought Popup and they got a bit greedy and filled the game with microtransactions and stuff. But even so, still to this day, my favourite is the PC and Mac original. So I'm really happy that this can actually play on my iMac. So if I don't get any videos out for a few weeks, you know what I've been doing. Now the next one here, this is Tetris Attack that I was talking about, but because I said we're not talking about Tetris games in this video, instead we're going to be talking about this one here called Panel de Pon. I did have the box for it somewhere, but I can't find it. Even so, Panel de Pon is one of my favourite puzzle games. It's a lot more action-packed than some of the other games that I've mentioned in this video so far. I really love the fact that you can play this game super fast. I get really intense by pressing the D-pad left and right, flipping all the blocks around and stuff. And it was also released on the N64 as Pokemon Puzzle League, and it was also released on the Game Boy Color with the same name. Let's see if I can find that version. Or, okay, it wasn't quite the same name, so this is a bit confusing. So on the N64, it's called Pokemon Puzzle League. On the Japanese SNES, it's called Panel de Pon. On the UK and Europe SNES, it's called Tetris Attack. On the Game Boy Color, it's called Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. And it's also on the DS, simply called Puzzle League, I think. So there's many different ways of playing this game, but they all play basically the same, and no matter which one you go for, you're guaranteed to have a great time. And a game that's kind of similar to Tetris Attack and Puzzle League, but you kind of play it the other way around. This is Meteos, a game that you might have seen if you saw my Tetsuya Mizuguchi documentary. I did cover this game and Disney sequel as well. Really amazing puzzle game that sort of has a more action kind of feel to it. And it was co-developed by the same people that made Super Smash Bros. So you definitely get that sort of fighting game feel to it, and the way the menus are laid out and stuff, but really, really cool game. I wish they would make a modern update to this, because this came out in 2005, and to me it's one of the best puzzle games that was ever made. And now, only going to be showing 2 versions of this game, although there's many, many different versions out there. This one is called Lumineers, and you may also have seen this one from my Tetsuya Mizuguchi video. Really cool, music-based puzzle game. I've picked my favourite 2 versions here. This is the PSP original. Yeah, I've picked the right one up. The PSP original and the Vita version, Electric Symphony. I really love the soundtrack to both of these games, and I love the fact that when you're actually completing the puzzles, the way you move actually affects the music and the sound effects in the game. It's so cool, and especially playing it with headphones, that's why I picked the portable versions here. Playing it with headphones, you can get really absorbed into the game, so highly recommend Lumineers, no matter what system you pick it up on. So I may have forgot to mention this in the actual video, but I've inserted it here. This is Columns Crown for the Game Boy Advance. One of the most addicting puzzle games that I know of. I've picked Columns Crown out of the entire Columns series because this is the one that I've played the most, and I just love everything about this game. I love the graphics, the art style is really nice, bright and colourful. It's very fast and fun to play. It's got a good soundtrack. It's got a great single player element as well. While you're playing through the game, you can collect these different crystals, which you can then use as attacks in the versus the CPU mode, and you can also link up with friends. Not that I had any friends that had this game, but if you do have friends that happen to have Columns Crown for the Game Boy Advance, you can trade crystals between each other. Obviously they got that idea from Pokemon and a lot of other similar games at the time. But even so, Columns Crown, one of my favourite puzzle games for the GBA, and there's a lot of them, so very high recommendation. Okay, I have a stack of 4 different games here. Once again, they've all got slightly different names, and there's a Mega Drive one that I can't get to called Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, so you probably know what I'm talking about. Yes, this is Puyo Pop, or Puyo Puyo, or Kirby's Avalanche is the other name for it. And once again, no matter which version that you play, you're guaranteed to have a great time. And of course, if you want a modern take, I didn't talk about Tetris, but you can also get it in Puyo Tetris for the Nintendo Switch, and I think the PlayStation 4 now as well. One of my favourite puzzle games, well, obviously because it's in the list, and they're all my favourite puzzle games. This one is very, very addictive. I love making different combos and chains. In fact, I made a video about how to chain in Puyo Puyo a few years ago, which I kind of got slated on for not being a elite player or something and only managing to show off a chain of 4, but I don't really care. Still one of my favourite puzzle games, and I was very happy to help some people who might not be able to play it as well as I do. So really happy about sharing my love of Puyo Puyo. And that's all the ones I've got stacked up, but if you've been keeping count, we're on 9 out of 10. The last one I want to show you, I don't have a box for, but there is physical versions out there. And if I can find it, I'm talking about... There we go, I'm talking about Bejeweled. Definitely one of my favourite puzzle games ever. I have to give a special mention to Bejeweled 2 for the PC. Every time I went over to stay at my nan's house, she would constantly be playing it. I think, I remember one day I checked the stats in the game and she'd racked up over 500 hours. I've played it nowhere near that much, but it's definitely a game that I always go back to again and again, especially now that they've brought out this amazing version for iOS and possibly Android, I'm not sure. But this version is so good. It's got so many different modes, as well as the classic Bejeweled mode. It's also got Diamond Mine, which was the original name for Bejeweled, when PopCap made it way back in, I think, 2001 or something. And also my favourite mode on here called Butterflies, which is really, really cool. So there we go. 10 games in just about 10 minutes, I think, as well. So let me know some of your favourite puzzle games down in the comments below. And of course, I'll see you in the next episode, which is going to be Birmingham MCM Comic Con, which I'm going to this weekend. If you see me at the event, definitely come and say hi. It's great to meet people who watch the show. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week for another video. Goodbye.